Although it has been over a week since the video of Trump's head almost being blown up on live television for the world to see, there is still some mystery concerning the shooter's motive. This has led to countless conspiracies. However, the footage has gone viral, and in this video, we are going to dispel the conspiracies and reveal the truth about what happened on that day. The moment Trump was shot. Butler, Pennsylvania, a serene town known for its close-knit community, was abuzz with excitement on July 13, 2024. The Butler Farm Show site was transformed into a sea of red, white, and blue as supporters of former President Donald Trump gathered for a highly anticipated campaign rally. The atmosphere was electric, filled with chants, banners, and the palpable energy of a crowd eager to hear from the Republican presidential candidate. Amidst the excitement, local law enforcement was on high alert, ensuring the safety of the attendees and the high-profile speaker. 60 minutes before the scheduled speech, a routine patrol took an unexpected turn. Local police officers stationed outside the event perimeter noticed a young man exhibiting unusual behavior. This man was Thomas Matthew Crooks, a 20-year-old whose actions would soon send shockwaves across the nation. Crooks was seen loitering near the entrance, his eyes darting around as if searching for something or someone. His suspicious demeanor immediately caught the attention of the officers. According to reports, the officers described Crooks as acting suspiciously, a term that would soon take on a much graver meaning. Recognizing the potential threat, the officers used their radios to alert the Secret Service and other police officers inside the event. The message was clear: a suspicious individual had been spotted outside the rally perimeter. The communication set off a chain of events that would unfold over the next 60 minutes. Inside the event, Secret Service agents, already on high alert, received the radio transmission. The agents began scanning the crowd and the surrounding area, their eyes peeled for any sign of the suspicious individual. The tension in the air was almost palpable as the agents prepared for any eventuality. Meanwhile, Crooks, seemingly undeterred by the increased security presence, made his way closer to the event site. In exclusive footage, Crooks can be seen near the building from where he would later fire. The footage shows him blending in with the crowd, his demeanor calm and collected, belying the sinister intentions that lay beneath. As the minutes ticked by, the rally continued to build in excitement. Supporters waved flags, chanted slogans, and eagerly awaited Trump's arrival. Unbeknownst to them, a potential assassin was moving ever closer to his target. The atmosphere of celebration and anticipation masked the growing danger that lurked in the shadows. 40 minutes before the shooting, Crooks was spotted again, this time inside the event perimeter. Local police, who had been trying to keep track of him, lost sight of him for roughly 20 minutes before spotting him once more. This time, he was carrying a rangefinder, a telescope-like device used to measure the distance from an observer to a target. It is believed that Crooks was using the rangefinder to calculate the distance between the roof and the platform where Trump would speak. The device, innocuous to the untrained eye, was a crucial tool in his deadly plan. The sighting of Crooks with the rangefinder added a new layer of urgency to the situation. The Secret Service agents, now aware of Crooks's presence inside the event, intensified their efforts to locate and apprehend him. They communicated with local police, coordinating their search and sharing information. The clock was ticking, and every second counted as they worked to prevent a potential catastrophe. 20 minutes before the shooting, Crooks made his way towards a complex of interconnected corrugated metal buildings used by AGR International. The buildings provided the perfect vantage point for his plan. He moved with purpose, his actions calculated and deliberate.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there. Right there, see him? He's laying down, you see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
As Crooks climbed onto the roof, he was spotted by Secret Service agents. The agents immediately reported his location to local police and requested an investigation. The sight of Crooks on the roof added a new layer of urgency to the situation. The agents knew they had to act fast. A local police officer was dispatched to investigate the suspicious individual on the roof. The officer's mission was clear: identify and apprehend Crooks before he could carry out his plan. The tension was palpable as the officer made his way towards the building. The officer approached the building with caution, aware of the potential danger. He climbed towards the roof, determined to get a look at the suspicious individual. Every step brought him closer to a confrontation that could have deadly consequences. On the roof, Crooks was setting up his AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle. The weapon, capable of firing multiple rounds in quick succession, was a formidable tool in his hands. Crooks' actions were methodical, his focus unwavering as he prepared to take his shot. The officer managed to lift himself up and grasp the edge of the roof. He peered over the edge and spotted Crooks, who was now fully prepared to execute his plan. The sight of the rifle in Crooks's hands confirmed the officer's worst fears. In a split second, Crooks turned and pointed his rifle at the officer. The officer quickly dropped back down to the ground ground, narrowly avoiding being shot. The encounter underscored the imminent danger and the high stakes of the situation. The Secret Service snipers, positioned strategically behind Trump, were now on high alert. They scanned the crowd and the surrounding buildings, their rifles trained on any potential threats. One sniper, spotting the movement on the rooftop, signaled to his team. The tension was electric, every second feeling like an eternity. 6:11:21, 6:11:32 p.m. An officer was seen walking around the building. Just 12 seconds later, people began fleeing as they spotted the shooter. Secret Service snipers behind Trump pointed their rifles in the shooter's direction. At 6:11:33 p.m., the first shot rang out, interrupting Trump's speech on immigration. Two more shots followed in quick succession, all coming from Trump's right. The crowd's panic escalated as more gunshots echoed. Secret Service snipers aimed at the gunman, and a final shot was heard 15 seconds later. The sniper who neutralized the gunman fired one round, assisted by a spotter. Amidst the chaos, Trump was grazed in the ear, blood streaming down his face. Secret Service agents swiftly surrounded him, taking a minute and a half to get him off the stage. As Trump was hustled into his waiting SUV, he defiantly raised his fist, seemingly shouting, "Fight!" The crowd's attention shifted to the other victims. 50-year-old Corey Comparatore, a firefighter and Trump supporter, was shot in the head and killed. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro later shared that Corey died a hero, protecting his family. Two others, David Dutch, 57, and James Copenhaver, 74, were critically wounded, with one in a medically induced coma. Immediately after leaving the site of the assassination attempt, Trump was receiving treatment for the graze on his ear. The medical team worked efficiently, cleaning the wound and ensuring there were no further complications. Despite the trauma, Trump remained composed, his resolve unshaken. As news of the assassination attempt spread, the public's reaction was swift and intense. Social media platforms were flooded with messages of shock, outrage, and concern. Supporters of Trump expressed their relief that the former president had survived, while others condemned the violence and called for unity. President Biden, who had been spending the weekend in Delaware, addressed the nation. His voice was somber as he condemned the violence, stating, "There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's one of the reasons we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this." Biden's call for unity resonated with many, highlighting the urgent need to bridge the deep political divides in the country. Trump took to Truth Social to share his experience. He wrote, "I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place." His post was met with an outpouring of support and prayers from his followers, who were relieved to hear directly from him. By 8:50 p.m. that night, Trump left the hospital, his wound treated and his spirit unbroken. The crime scene at the rally site was handed over to the FBI at 10:30 p.m., marking the beginning of a thorough investigation into the assassination attempt. Shortly before 11 p.m., Trump arrived at Pittsburgh Butler Regional Airport, where he was held in place for a brief period before departing for New Jersey at 11:21 p.m. Immediately after the shooting, the rumor mill went into overdrive about how an untrained 20-year-old was able to have a clear line of sight to shoot the former president of the United States during a rally. One person who was forced to answer the questions and dispel the rumors was Kimberly Cheatle, and I have to tell you, her response was underwhelming. Kimberly Cheatle response. On July 22, 2024, the House Oversight Committee convened a high-stakes hearing to address the security failures at the Trump rally. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle was at the center of the storm, facing bipartisan criticism from both Republicans and Democrats. Ranking Member Jamie Raskin of Maryland did not mince words, stating,
"This relationship is irretrievable at this point, and I think that the director has lost the confidence of Congress at a very urgent and tender moment in the history of the country."
His call for Cheatle's resignation was echoed by several other lawmakers. Kimberly Cheatle, sworn in and under intense scrutiny, described the assassination attempt as the most significant operational failure for the Secret Service in decades. She repeatedly took full responsibility for the security lapses, but her assurances did little to quell the outrage. The proceedings were so heated that Representative Nancy Mace, a South Carolina Republican, filed a privileged resolution to impeach Cheatle. House Republicans Republican leaders now have 2 legislative days to set a floor vote on the measure. Throughout the 4-hour hearing, Cheatle defended the actions of the Secret Service. She cited the ongoing FBI investigation as the reason for her inability to discuss specific details about the gunman's actions leading up to the attack. This defense, however, did not sit well with many lawmakers. GOP Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio pressed Cheatle on her briefings to President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Cheatle confirmed she had spoken to them about the assassination attempt and also to the Secret Service countersniper who killed Crooks, but she withheld details of those conversations. Representative Mike Turner, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, focused on an Iranian plot against Trump detected by U.S. intelligence. Cheatle acknowledged the threat, but maintained that the protection plan was sufficient, despite admitting to gaps and a failure that allowed Crooks to access the rooftop. Democratic Representative Jerry Connolly of Virginia grew increasingly frustrated with Cheatle's evasive answers about the impact of widespread gun ownership on the Secret Service's job. Connolly's repeated questions about whether the ubiquity of guns made her job easier or more difficult went unanswered, further fueling his anger. Representative Raja Krishnamurthy of Illinois asked Cheatle to address conspiracy theories that had emerged after the attack. Cheatle firmly stated that the shooting was not staged, not a conspiracy by high-ranking officials, and not perpetrated by a foreign state. Frustration with Cheatle's responses crossed party lines. GOP Representative Pete Sessions of Texas demanded Cheatle to tell lawmakers what went wrong at the rally, while Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York criticized the 60-day timeline for the internal investigation as unacceptable. Tensions reached a boiling point when Representative Nancy Mace accused Cheatle of being full of and dishonest, prompting another lawmaker to urge Mace to preserve decorum.
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of shit today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman,
Completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman,
I want to.
Come
on.
We have to maintain decorum in this committee, no matter how upset we get.
Despite the intense grilling, Cheatle stood her ground, defending her job performance and the actions of the Secret Service. She emphasized the need for adequate resources and the dynamic environment in which the agency operates. As the hearing progressed, specific criticisms about the security measures in place during the rally took center stage. Lawmakers demanded to know why Thomas Matthew Crooks, who had been deemed suspicious, was able to get so close to the former president. Representative Byron Donalds of Florida criticized Cheatle for her leadership, calling it gross incompetence. He highlighted that the Secret Service had been informed about a suspicious person 2 to 5 times before the shots were fired, yet Crooks still managed to carry out his attack. Cheatle responded by acknowledging the gaps and failures in the security measures. She admitted that the Secret Service had been aware of Crooks' suspicious behavior, but insisted that if Trump's detail had been informed of a direct threat, they would not have allowed him to take the stage. Representative Jared Moskowitz of Florida drew a parallel between Cheatle's performance and the disastrous December congressional hearing on anti-Semitism, which led to the resignations of 2 university presidents. He stated,
"But a president was almost assassinated live on television, not just for Americans, but for the world to see."
GOP Representative William Timmons of South Carolina questioned the allocation of Secret Service resources between Trump's rally and an event with First Lady Jill Biden on the same day. Cheatle assured that there were sufficient resources for both events and no assets were diverted. GOP Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee lambasted Cheatle as a blaming diversity, equity, and inclusion practices for the Secret Service's failures. Cheatle refuted this, stating that the incident had nothing to do with DEI and was instead due to a failure or gap in planning or communication. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia accused Cheatle of not being prepared to answer lawmakers' questions about the timeline of events leading up to the shooting. Cheatle admitted she had a timeline, but without specifics, prompting laughter from lawmakers. Despite the intense scrutiny, Cheatle outlined the actions the Secret Service had taken since the assassination attempt. She revealed that the agency made adjustments to the inside of the perimeter at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and to the security posture for protectees in the Washington, D.C. area. Cheatle emphasized that the Secret Service had been conducting analysis and adding additional features to their security details since the incident occurred. She assured lawmakers that the agency was committed to learning from the tragedy and taking corrective action to prevent such failures in the future. Cheatle concluded by reiterating her full confidence in the men and women of the Secret Service and their dedication to executing their protective mission. She pledged to move heaven and earth to ensure an incident like the one one on July 13th never happens again. The aftermath of the hearing was swift and decisive. On July 23rd, just one day after her testimony, Kimberly Cheatle announced her resignation as director of the Secret Service. The intense bipartisan pressure and the overwhelming criticism from lawmakers left her with little choice. In a rare display of bipartisan unity, Reps. Jamie Raskin and Reps. James Comer issued a joint letter calling for Cheatle to step down. They stated, "Today, you failed to provide answers to basic questions regarding that stunning operational failure and to reassure the American people that the Secret Service has learned its lessons and begun to correct its systemic blunders and failures." The call for Cheatle's resignation was not just about accountability, it was about restoring trust in the Secret Service. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle emphasized the need for new leadership to swiftly address the crisis and rebuild the trust of Congress and the American people. The broader implications for the Secret Service are profound. The agency, tasked with protecting the nation's leaders, must now undergo a thorough review of its security protocols and operational procedures. The attempted assassination of a former president has exposed significant vulnerabilities that cannot be ignored. Security experts have weighed in, highlighting the need for comprehensive reforms within the Secret Service. The agency must adapt to evolving threats and ensure that its personnel are adequately trained and equipped to handle high-risk situations. In the wake of the assassination attempt, the Secret Service has already begun implementing new security measures. These include enhanced perimeter controls, increased surveillance, and more rigorous threat assessments. The goal is to prevent any future lapses and ensure the safety of all protectees. The hearing has also sparked a renewed debate on gun control and the need for stricter laws to prevent such incidents. Lawmakers like Reps. Jamie Raskin have called for universal background checks and closing loopholes in existing firearms laws, arguing that the safety of the nation's leaders and citizens depends on it. The resignation of Kimberly Cheatle marks a significant turning point for the Secret Service. As the agency moves forward under new leadership, the lessons learned from this tragic event will shape its future operations and security protocols. The safety of the nation's leaders is paramount, and the Secret Service must rise to the challenge to protect them. While that hearing ended, another took place a day after, and that was to know what the FBI can reveal as the investigation is going on. FBI investigation. The attempted assassination of Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, sent shockwaves through the nation. The initial response from law enforcement was swift and decisive. Within moments of the first shots being fired, Secret Service agents and local police secured the area, ensuring the safety of the attendees and the former president. The gunman, later identified as Thomas Matthew Crooks, was neutralized by a Secret Service sniper, but the investigation was just beginning. As the dust settled, the FBI took charge of the investigation, determined to uncover the motives and methods behind this brazen attack. The first step was to secure and analyze the crime scene. Agents meticulously combed the area, collecting evidence and documenting every detail. 8 spent cartridges were found on the rooftop where Crooks had positioned himself, confirming the extent of the attack. FBI Director Christopher Wray, in his testimony before the House Judiciary Committee, revealed the chilling details of the gunman's actions leading up to the attack. On July 6th, just a week before the shooting, Crooks conducted an online search for "How far away was Oswald from Kennedy?" referencing the infamous assassination of President John F. Kennedy. This search coincided with his registration for the Trump rally, indicating a sinister intent.
The investigation ties to the shooter reveals that on July 6th, he did a Google search for, quote, "How far away was Oswald from Kennedy?" And so that's a search that obviously is significant.
The FBI's investigation into Crooks' online activities revealed a disturbing pattern. His search history suggested a broad interest in public figures, but from around July 6th, he became intensely focused on Donald Trump. This shift in focus was a crucial piece of the puzzle, providing insight into Crooks' state of mind and his potential motives. The day before the attack, Crooks visited a shooting range where investigators believe he fired a weapon similar to the one used in the attempted assassination. This visit was a critical step in his preparation as he honed his skills for the deadly mission. The FBI's analysis of surveillance footage from the shooting range confirmed Crooks's presence and his use of a high-powered rifle. On the day of the rally, Crooks's meticulous planning continued. He flew a drone close to the rally site just 2 hours before the shooting. The FBI recovered this drone, along with 3 explosive devices capable of remote detonation from Crooks' car and home. Although the devices were not primed to go off, the presence of a transmitter with Crooks suggests a chilling level of preparedness. The search of Crook's home and car yielded further evidence of his elaborate plan. In addition to the drone and explosive devices, agents found detailed maps of the rally site, indicating potential vantage points for the attack. The FBI also recovered electronic devices, including a laptop and a smartphone, which were sent to the lab for forensic analysis. The forensic analysis of Crook's electronic devices revealed a trove of information. Investigators discovered encrypted messages and detailed notes about the rally, as well as further evidence of his obsession with public figures. Despite these findings, the FBI has yet to uncover a clear motive for the attack. Interviews with Crooks' associates and analysis of his social media have not provided firm evidence of his intentions. As the investigation progressed, the FBI faced numerous challenges. Decrypting the messages on Crooks' phone proved to be a complex and time-consuming task. However, the agents remained undeterred, driven by the need to understand the full scope of Crooks' plan and the potential threat he posed. In his testimony, Director Wray emphasized the importance of leaving no stone unturned. He described the incident as an attack on our democracy and vowed to uncover the truth behind Crooks' actions. The FBI's relentless pursuit of justice is a testament to their commitment to protecting the nation and its democratic institutions. As the FBI delved deeper into the investigation, the profile of the gunman, Thomas Matthew Crooks, began to take shape. Crooks, a 35-year-old man from a small town in Pennsylvania, was described by FBI Director Christopher Wray as a loner. He had few contacts in his phone and led a largely isolated life with minimal interaction with family or friends. Crooks lived alone in a modest home where he spent most of his time. Neighbors described him as quiet and unassuming, someone who kept to himself and rarely engaged with the community. This reclusive behavior made it difficult for investigators to piece together a clear picture of his life and motivations. The forensic analysis of Crooks' electronic devices revealed a trove of information. Investigators discovered encrypted messages and detailed notes about the rally, as well as further evidence of his obsession with public figures. Despite these findings, the FBI has yet to uncover a clear motive for the attack. Interviews with Crooks' associates and analysis of his social media have not provided firm evidence of his intentions. The FBI conducted numerous interviews with people who knew Crooks, including former colleagues, neighbors, and acquaintances. These interviews painted a picture of a man who was deeply troubled and increasingly isolated. Former colleagues described Crooks as quiet and reserved, someone who rarely participated in social activities or discussions. Crooks' social media profiles offered little insight into his motivations. His posts were sporadic and largely mundane, with no clear indication of any political or ideological leanings. This lack of a clear pattern made it challenging for investigators to determine what drove Crooks to commit such a heinous act. In his testimony, Director Wray emphasized the complexity of the investigation. He noted that while Crooks' actions were indicative of a deeply disturbed individual, the lack of a clear motive made it difficult to draw definitive conclusions. The FBI's efforts to decrypt the messages on Crooks' phone and analyze his electronic devices were ongoing, as they sought to uncover any clues that might reveal his state of mind. That brings us to the end of this video. For more interesting videos like this, click on the cards on your screen.